Mega Production.
So I want you guys working. I want you guys to be engaged. He has a lot of information. He's taking time out of his busy day to come meet with us. So I appreciate it. And there'll be Q&A throughout this, so you guys ask your questions, so you can answer them for you. It's wealth of knowledge, but I don't want to take away everything I talked about. But this is Spencer.
Hi, everybody.
Thank you guys. So he can tell you everything he does. Great following. He can share all that information with you that he's been doing over the last 10, 11 years. So I want to definitely have him take the floor and take it away from here.
Cool. Well, thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it. My name is Spencer Berke. I live in Orange County, California. I run a social media marketing agency, so I get paid to post on Instagram as a way I tell everyone how I make money. What I do is I help businesses post more of their content from their service or their product on social media. It could be from Instagram to Facebook to YouTube to Twitter. Doing this for roughly 2 years now. So before that, to give you a foundation of where I started, I had been super obsessed with cars. It's my whole life. It's all the automotive scene, the automotive industry. I worked for a few different Lamborghini dealerships throughout my whole life, doing social media, doing photography. That was kind of where I started. So my whole career was based around digital media, online marketing, social media. Started with MySpace. That was my first platform I used, and Zanga, if you guys remember that. And for me, I used those platforms to market my photography. So I'd go around town taking photos, working at dealerships, working all around Southern California with these automotive dealerships, and I realized one thing. All these guys are super rich, they're buying cars, they have plenty of money to spend, so how can I help them with their social media? So I realized at some point that I could jump ship, start an agency, do social media for all these guys who own nice cars, and eventually start my own career. So what I do now is a full-time social media agency. We have a team of 2 people right now. We're trying to grow into more people. We mostly focus on online marketing, digital marketing. And one of the biggest key points for me is that I share my life online through a perspective that most people don't. I'm willing to share a lot more of like the hardships, the hard times in life, pretty much anything that most people are scared to share. You can see on my Instagram, I share a lot of my car, a lot of other cars. Been doing a lot of interviews lately, a lot of podcasts, and it's something that makes me happy. I like to share my life, connect with people, use social media to my advantage. So for me, I want to stand here and talk about myself all day, but my goal is to bring you guys value. So when it comes down to social media, I'm happy to answer any questions or any ideas you have. I wanted to bring you guys more value. So if anyone has any questions, just let me know. Sure.
Can I see some of the companies you use on social media for like their Instagram?
Yeah, of course. So we do mostly automotive, but one of my favorites is actually food. This company is a restaurant in San Diego. So basically what we do is the guy who owns this restaurant reached out to me and he said that he wanted to get more customers through social media. So what we did is we found a photographer in San Diego and we basically send them down usually once or twice a month to take a ton of photos of all the food, everything that they have, all the drinks, and we post every day for them. So I do this for about 90 different businesses all over the US. But we do anything from car dealerships to food to insurance companies, other agencies. We do pretty much everything now.
So then your strategy for gaining new customers is just consistent posting?
Yeah, I mean, we target the audience of who it would be. So if it's a restaurant in San Diego, we would focus on like the top 10 cities surrounding San Diego with hashtags, engagement, looking for other people, commenting on other people's photos, whatever it could be. But if it was a company that sold something worldwide, we would target major cities like New York, Miami, Boston, big areas like that. So every company is going to be different depending on where they're located.
And how do you target those cities? Just through hashtags?
Yeah, so we use geotags usually. So each picture will have like a tag in a different city, and then we'll engage with people all around there.
Can you explain a geotag to me?
Yeah, so it just basically says, this is where the picture was taken, and then when you click that, there's going to be all the top
is that
photos
the
there.
little thing on the top that's like where you were at?
Yeah.
that day? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you use paid promotions? Do you find that to be effective?
Yeah, so Facebook changed their algorithm like 3 or 4 years ago, where if you notice on Facebook pages, I don't get any activity on most of my companies that I manage, only because you have to pay for people to see you. So we'll usually talk to a client and say, this is how much money I charge for a retainer fee to hire me as a company. And then on top of that, we'll set a budget for their boosted posts. So usually it's around $500 per month. And what we do is we'll find the best picture that we can find or that we took, and then we would promote that for $100. And we'll see return on that too.
And that's through Facebook strictly? Do you guys do promotions on Instagram, like the promoted videos?
Yeah, so we do promotions on everything, even LinkedIn and Twitter.
Okay. And you see a good return of investment for that?
We've done a couple where if you have a bad photo, there's not a good return. So the quality of your content has to be high, and your caption has to be good too and quick. You can't write a full paragraph and boost it because no one's going to read that, because the attention span is so slow, or quick I should say. So if you have a really good photo and a really good caption, that's when you want to boost a post like that.
And do you find more engagement when you post videos or photos?
Videos right now. I mean, I've been filming YouTube videos for 11 years now. I've been vlogging for 3 years, and it completely changed my whole perspective on the reach that I have. Because if you think on Instagram, you're scrolling through, like my attention span is like 3 seconds. I'll look at a picture and keep scrolling. Right. But if you have a video, you can pull someone in for up to 60 seconds.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would you say you get more engagement with longer videos or shorter videos, like 60 opposed to like 30?
It depends on how good the video is. I mean, if you're teaching something that, or if you're talking about something that people want to know, then you'll retain that information for those people more for a longer period of time. But I think that if you can focus on the quality of your content, it doesn't matter if it's 15 seconds or 5 minutes. If it's good, people will watch it. Sure.
Is the strategy different for companies rather than like people?
Yeah, so I've been an influencer for 4 years now. I basically get paid to travel and do different promotional gigs and go to different things that I do. But when it comes down to the marketing, it's business and influencers are 2 different things, so you have to approach it differently. It really depends on what the influencer is, whether they're a music producer or they're a fashion designer, whatever it could be.
Do you feel like people, like for business, do you feel like they want, like for your food, like they just want the food, or do you think they would want like a cook in the back or a photo of like, you know, a customer there, or is it just product? Like is it product and engagement, or?
Yeah, we usually change up the content. So we'll post photos of like a whole family eating at a restaurant, or we'll show like maybe the business owner taking a selfie or something where there's more diversification. It's not just buy the product. Right. So we'll share usually like a 70 to 30% range of just showing like just what they sell, just to get like that consistency, and then once or twice a week we'll post something that's more personal, whether that's like a selfie or a cool review or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Do you guys ever use product placement with influencers as promotion? And like, is that effective?
Yeah, so I manage a few different companies, but this restaurant's pretty good to talk about that. We give away 10 free burritos a month, and we basically go find influencers who have over 10,000 followers, and we'll say, hey, if you take a picture of you eating a burrito, we'll give you a free meal. And even if 2 or 3 say yes, then what's going to happen is that instead of just getting these really good photos for our account, those people who go there, they're going to post on their Instagram story, on their Instagram, on their Facebook, and tag this company. So now their database is going to see all of this as well. So we're not narrowing ourselves down just to be our own database. We want other people to tag us so their database sees it too. And that's how you grow.
How long does it take to grow? Let's say you're starting to post consistently every single day. You're doing all the revenue 70-30. You're getting influencers. At what point do you start seeing like growth? Like
it depends on what it is. If you're selling life insurance, it's terrible because no one wants to get that. But if you're selling something like fashion or nice cars or whatever it could be, it really depends on the quality of your content, how consistent you are too. So you could have 100 influencers marketing your product, but it might not be something that people like. You have to find something that's in demand right now. So it depends on what the product is and who you're working with. Sure.
How do you fight like oversaturation in your like market?
As far as like the content goes,
like there's like probably well, for me, like I'm like a photographer,
sure,
and I do video, but there's like so many
Yeah.
guys who do it, especially in LA. Like it's really,
It's oversaturated.
yeah,
For sure.
there's like no way to make yourself different either because they're all like different. Like, I don't know.
Well, I mean, if you look at it this way, like, my name was That Photographer on Instagram for like 7 years, and I only did photography. And then as I expanded from my photography career into marketing, I realized that it didn't matter what I was doing, it was how I was marketing it. So it doesn't matter if you start a clothing line and every other person in the world has a clothing line. If you can find the right way to market it through your own eyes, people will follow you and then they'll purchase your product.
So what's the right way to market like a photography?
Well, I would say that there's probably a couple ways. You could start doing YouTube vlogs and do behind the scenes of what you're doing, and people will watch way more in depth of how you do it, and make videos on how you shoot, how you edit in Lightroom, your different filters you use, how you shoot, and people will look at you like, oh, this guy's actually sharing what he does. He's not just another Instagram photographer.
Wow.
So if you can share more in depth of who you are compared to what you do, people have a different connection with you.
Yeah, I see that when I do post BTS stuff like rarely, and those almost get more engagement.
Oh yeah. I mean, all my, I'd go take a Bugatti out in San Diego and shoot it by the ocean, and I'd be like, check out this awesome car for sale, DM me, and then I would go take a picture of my new socks on my iPhone. And so like, oh, I get 10,000 likes compared to 3,000. So it depends on how you're sharing it and how you're presenting what you're doing, because there's so many other people out there that you can follow for the most generic stuff, but if you find a way to stand out, people will follow you for that. Anything else? Any questions?
How many of you guys are seeing a relationship of, like, or even some aha moments of what he's doing, what you're not doing? Right? So what are some things that stand out for you guys right now? Like,
just like being consistent. Like I see this and I'm like, oh, that's dope. Like they just post photos and they're not like insane, like well lit on a white back. You know what I mean? They're just photos. Like people just want to see it. So like for me, it would just be like stop being self-conscious of like my content and just put content out there.
Yeah.
You know?
Most people are scared to put out stuff that isn't polished completely.
Right.
But like we were just talking about, I get more engagement on iPhone videos than a full video on a gimbal with a red camera. It doesn't really matter what you're filming. It just, as long as you have a story behind what you're sharing, people will follow it.
It seems like if you can connect with normal people rather than making it seem like overproduced or,
Oh yeah,
you know,
extremely.
and I overthink everything.
Trust
so
me,
like,
I did too.
It,
Did all the time.
I don't know if it's just me being OCD or if that's just, I don't know, but like the simplicity of like a comment or the caption and like the picture and, the comparison between like more views on, behind the scenes. People are very nosy, especially with the technological era that we're in. And that makes a lot of sense.
Sure.
So if, like she included, the production and all of that, and she was just like, this is me.
Yeah, totally. I mean,
that totally makes sense, and it coincides with one another.
sure. I mean, usually when I watch a movie, like, it's awesome. I just saw Sicario 2, which was insane. But I was actually more interested in behind the scenes. So I went on YouTube and watched like 4 hours of production, and then the whole movie was 2 hours. So I watched more behind the scenes than I did the actual movie, and I was way more intrigued.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to see how they did this and how they did that. So I implement that into my life of, I worked for a car dealership for 7 years, making plenty of money, living the dream job, and I quit, and I had no money, and I didn't know what I was going to do, so I started my agency. But during that process, I shared everything I had done. I sold my camera, I sold my car, I talked about how I was helping my mother at the same time. I talked about landing my first client, how I got that client, and then it just kind of built from that. So sharing the behind the scenes was much more beneficial than me being like, check it out, look how cool I am. Like, that wasn't what got me to where I am. It was sharing like the behind the scenes.
To your point about vlogs, at the risk of sounding cynical, I feel like vlogs are also very oversaturated on YouTube.
I mean, you have to look at it in a few different ways that, the watch market is so saturated, actual wristwatches. But my buddy Kramer started a company like 7 years ago called Movement Watches, and now he makes $100 million a year. He's 22.
Oh, I know about that.
And he started, I knew him when he first started the company, and so many people were doubting him, saying you can't do it. But he started doing YouTube vlogs and influencer recruitment, and he went from, a couple $1 million a year to $100 million. But he was in one of the most saturated markets. So that shows you that if you can find a way to stand out from the rest, you can jump into any market you want.
So your approach, it's all about your
Yeah,
approach.
totally.
and you gotta understand, you don't know until you try it. You know, you have to build that relationship. You really don't know who's on the other end of that. Because of the technology that we have, you're able to not just reach people in just a geographic area, you can go much farther out. And just because everyone can use the technology, you have to learn how to build that relationship. It was funny when he pulled into the parking lot, and two guys in the car were following him, and I was like, "Who are these guys?" I thought you brought him along or something, you know? And they were like, "Oh my God, it's Spencer!" And I'm like, they're jumping out of the car, and I started like, "What the heck's going on?" You know? He brought his posse, you know, but they were actually two students. So they recognized him. Did they recognize from your license plate, or what?
Just from the car. I mean, I had 3 DMs right now.
Yeah.
That people are in the parking lot taking
like,
pictures of my
going
car.
on?
What are you doing here?
So I mean, he definitely. I was like, wow. Yeah, I guess they do know what he's doing, you know. So I mean, it's building that relationship. I mean, they connected. I think he was following you for 2-3 years, whatever he said.
Sure.
And he immediately identified you on just coming into the parking lot. So that was kind of a surreal moment for those guys. But that was a relationship thing that he built over time, and they have been following him. So it goes to your point. It might seem saturated, but weddings were also saturated, but they're one of the biggest money makers, and you revealed that yourself. So it's no different in perspective when you look at it. You don't know who's on the other end of that line. You cast a wide net by opening up your options and see and refine your own personal thing based on the need that's out there. You have to do it. I mean, you might be doubtful, or if you share that people get, you know, say, "Oh, it's not going to work." You know, hey, well, you don't know. You don't know because you don't know. You might not be selling the same product. The way you do it, and also your personality, how it comes out and how it relates to that person, might be completely different than the way that person's saying it. You know, I can say things 2 different ways, and you can hate me or you can love me, depending on how my approach and how I say it, right? So it's no different than the message that comes out and what gets posted in the relationship and the partnerships that go out worldwide now because of the technology. It's pretty amazing.
What are your, like, I mean, you told us like your do's pretty much, but what are the don'ts for posting on social media?
Just anything that someone's going to question. So if you have to question a post, you should probably not post it ever. They're looking at my life because I share so much. You have to be very careful with what you share. But then there's always the happy medium. You can push humor, you can push partying here and there, but it has to be in a way that if someone's going to look at you differently and they're going to question you, then that's when you start to have to question if you actually should put that out there for the world to see.
So the perception is like key.
Totally. Yeah.
I've heard of some companies when they start out, they'll buy like 10,000 followers to like legitimize them at first. So people are like, oh, you know, they have 10K, they're like doing stuff. And then over time, they like actually grow that. Would you recommend completely organically growing your followers?
No, because you're going to only hurt yourself in the long run. Because I can look at any profile and, you know, if they have 10,000 followers but they get 23 likes on every picture, that instantly makes me say I don't want to even give them any credibility at all. Because they try to lie in the first place. I'd rather just give them a chance. If they have 50 followers, who knows, they could be a huge asset to my life or my business. But if I see right away that they're faking it, then I'm not interested. So I think it's going to hurt you in the long run. And like the cool thing is too is that when I left the car dealership, I had so many people with big egos that wanted like, hey, I want you to give me 1 million followers. And I'm like, that's not what I want to do for you. My goal is that I'd rather have 800 people repetitively buying your product and service than 1 million people who don't buy anything. Because that's just ego. So when you look at it that way, it's a waste of time to buy followers. Yeah.
How did you know for like yourself that like it was time to quit your job and move on to something you want to do, because it was like a risky move? Because you said like you also have to take care of your mom, so like you didn't really know like what could happen. Like how do you take like smart risk?
I think it's all about acting on being logical, not emotional. I had worked for a car dealership for a long time, and so the whole dealership got pulled out from under my feet, and it was one of the worst experiences I'd ever been through. And I don't have a high school education, so I had really nothing that could fall back on that needed an education. So I had to continue doing photography and social media. But there was one point that after that happened, I was working at a dealership with no friends. I would drive really cool cars and come back, and I wasn't happy. I was like, why am I spending this time right now doing something I don't like? Even if it's 0.01% that I don't like it, why am I doing it? So that following week, I kind of got together how I would get an exit strategy, and I realized that, you know, if I could find 5 or 6 clients that could pay me $500 to $1,000 a month, I could pay my car, my mom's bills, and ramen noodles. That's all I needed. And I realized that's what would get me through. So as soon as I met that financial area, I went into work and just grabbed my stuff and left. And that's when I started the agency.
How long was your exit strategy?
Maybe 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks. I just realized I wasn't happy, and I want to be happy all the time. I want my day to feel like Friday every single day. And ever since I quit, like, I'm living the happiest life I've ever had. Like, I'm blown away that I get to do this, and it's such a fun thing to do for me that, you know, I'm very thankful for it, but I've put a lot of hard work behind what I do. So I think that what I bring to businesses is super valuable, and it's only going to get bigger from here. So I just saw the potential. I knew that this social media market's going to grow, and that it's not slowing down. So as long as I put myself out there and offer a good service, I can make money and live a happy life. Yeah.
So did you know this is what you wanted to do? Like, I know I had MySpace, so like I get where you started.
Yeah.
And so like we're all part of that like social media platform.
Sure.
Or we've been exposed to it. So when did you know that this is something that you wanted to actually pursue, being that you were in the car industry?
I just saw the growth because social media can be applied to any business in the world. There was I didn't have to stick to just car dealerships. And the hardest part is when I quit my job, when I quit my 9 to 5, I was like, I'm gonna go after every car dealership and do their social media. But every car dealership owner is like 70 years old.
Right.
So they don't even know what an Instagram is. They don't understand it.
Yeah.
So I ended up failing that, and now I stick mostly to like restaurants and smaller businesses that do kind of third-party stuff. And I think that, you know, that's what held me together, is realizing the growth potential, because social media is not going to go anywhere. It's just getting bigger.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm in the right market, and I know that.
Any other questions, or like those are some good questions.
So we're talking about like oversaturation. Well, I'm sorry if I sound like cynical. I'm not.
That's okay. No worries.
I've just like I've done like a lot of Instagram, and I have like a podcast. I have like a YouTube channel. Like I've done it.
Okay.
But to my own fault, I've never consistently stuck with it, except my Instagram for like over a year.
Okay.
So, but is there ever a point like it's growing so much and so fast, and there's like there's like a weird gap between like normal people like under 2K and then like above 10, or like if I see like a model who has that like 50K, I'm like, you're not even that great. Like she has to be at like 100K or like a million.
Sure.
Like it's like this huge gap.
Well, it's
that's, like,
credibility.
increasing.
Yeah, I get it. Everyone wants that 1M on their profile. I get that. I understand that.
So I'm wondering, like, when does, like, is there ever a point where it's like, there's like a cutoff, like you can never, like, or is there always a chance for everyone to get?
I think if you have 1 follower or 10 million followers, there's still a chance for you to be in the industry and grow what you're doing. Because the main thing I look at is these are platforms that give you the opportunity to build a database, and it doesn't matter how many, like, if you have 4 people that follow you and they pay you 20 grand a month, you're cool with 4 followers, you know. But if you have 100,000 people buying a t-shirt over and over, it doesn't matter about the actual number, it matters on how they convert when it comes to business. But when you're an influencer, definitely having more followers will help you. But a couple things, agencies will see through it if you buy followers and likes.
Yeah.
If you're legit, it's more about engagement rate. You know, so if you have a post that you make and you have 1 million followers but you get 10,000 likes, your engagement's super low. But if you're someone who gets a lot of likes on their pictures and have 100K followers, you're more likely to be hired by somebody for an influencer.
So, how often do you recommend people posting? Like, I feel like once a day would be the best, but obviously that's like a lot of content behind the work, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like for myself, I'm starting a fashion brand, so it's been like a lot of money gone into just production.
Sure.
So obviously I'm gonna post all that business, but I feel like there's gonna be a point where I'm like dry for a week on social media. You know?
Yeah, and that's where you have to diversify your content. You got to figure out how to make more video content. You got to figure out how to take different photos. Maybe show behind the scenes. Maybe share a story. Maybe share a link to a YouTube video. Maybe jump on Twitter. You know, you got to find ways where, like right now, all these platforms are free. No one's charging us to use them, and so many people are complaining about algorithms and followers. Like, well, they're over here complaining. I'm adapting. I'm learning how to work with what I have because it's free. So I've created a career around something that's free online, and you have to look at it like, no matter what you're doing, you have to put content out, whether it's an iPhone picture or a good photo or video. And to answer your question, I look at usually 1 post per day. a really good quality content. It doesn't have to be polished, but something that really shows who you are, what you're doing, your product or service, just once a day. Yeah.
When it comes to events like face-to-face, I don't know if you mentioned SEMA.
Yeah.
Did you recently go to SEMA?
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to events like that, and you meet like other, like a large amount of people, like car people, like you say like TJ Hunt, things
Yeah.
like that. How do you go about actually talking to them and getting work from them, or?
So TJ,
I mean, when it comes to someone as big as that.
Yeah, I get it. People think that other people don't read DMs, and I've DM'd plenty of big followers, big Instagrammers, big celebrities, and you never know. Like, you gotta try it. So like, I've DM'd plenty of people, and like 5 or 6 years ago, I DM'd TJ Hunt, and I was like, hey dude, I want to link up, let's do a video. And he responded. So he came in a dealership, we did a video, and I ended up selling him a GTR. So a long time ago, I realized that there's a lot of potential on Instagram and Facebook where you can talk to anybody. DMs are perfect. Like, I read all my DMs, and people think, oh, he's too big, he's not going to read it. You never know. So I always look at it to reach those people. You can email them, you can send them a DM, Facebook message, you never know where they're looking.
What's your opinion on hashtags? Because there's like so many different things that are said about
So we do 15 to 20 per post, and we do it on the first comment because you don't want to saturate your main post. So we always do like a caption, 2 or 3 related hashtags, and then the first comment will be 15 to 20 hashtags.
And do you delete those?
No.
You keep them
Mm-hmm.
there?
Yeah.
How, like, for your personal Instagram, did you actually go back to it?
Yeah.
Like, how do you get over the insecurity of not receiving the validation that you want? Like, I feel like a lot of people talk about it, but it's hard to really not care.
Well,
like,
I mean, like, trust me, I get comments of people making fun of me how I look old or my hairline or being fat. Like, I get that all the time. And I'm 26 and people think I'm like 50. And I get it in my comment section every day. People are like, your mom sucks, I'm glad your dad died, I hate, like, I get that all the time. And that's just how, that's how the internet is. That's just how it is. So the faster you can accept that people are going to judge you and that people may try to hate you or bring you down, like, it's so irrelevant to what you're trying to do. So you got to build thick skin to get through it, and you have to realize that's just how it is. But when it comes down to like the validation and stuff, I think that you have to look at it like, if you're out there being consistent, something will come back in return. And it may not have to be likes. It may be a sponsorship deal with a company, or it may book a gig with a big client, you know? So you don't look at the number, look at the quality behind it.
Like, yeah, that too, but also, like, what about, like, every post I do has to be shot on, like, my camera,
Yeah.
like, as in Lightroom, like, it has to be so highly curated, like, I'm almost self-conscious to post, like, just iPhone videos of, like, me, like, I'm barely in it.
Sure.
But then when I am, it's high engagement, but, like, I don't want to put me on it.
Sure.
Because I'm like, what if this doesn't get likes? And
Well,
then it, like, prevents me from doing it.
So the main thing that's holding you back is insecurity.
Yeah.
I would get rid of that as soon as you can, man. Like, the second you feel insecure, just throw it out the window, because it's going to hold you back from huge opportunities.
Yeah.
So you just never know, and like, who cares, man? It's Instagram, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's a big deal to some people, but if you get 100 less likes in the post before, it's like, who cares? You're at least putting content out there. And if someone's scrolling through your feed and they see that video or that picture can change your career. You get a huge offer from a company, you could, like I'm saying, you could book a gig, you can do anything like that.
Yeah.
So you never know.
I know for like different cities, the answer might be different, but at what times do you feel like it's prime time to post? Or
I mean, anytime from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. Instagram's not chronological anymore.
Yeah.
It's just based on what people like and how relative it is. So timing just during the day, anytime during the day or the night.
Okay, and that's the same. Well, I mean, I guess if you're like trying to market globally, it would just help if you do geotags then.
Yeah, geotags are huge. Because you got to look at it this way, that all these platforms offer so many features. You can tag people, you can tag products, you can tag the location, you can do all these filters, you can do DMs. Like, people underutilize what's free right now. So if there's a feature on social media, utilize it to 100%.
Word.
Yeah.
So you said that you were looking to expand your company, right?
Yeah.
For like employees. Are you looking for interns or?
Yes. Big time. Yeah. Yeah, we just hired a third guy yesterday, and we're just trying to expand as much as we can. Yeah.
So like in the beginning, I'm assuming that you did like everything like yourself, and you said like, well, now you just have like a third person helping out. But like, when did you start, I guess, hiring other people to help you? Like, when did you know, like, okay, now I can't do it?
Like the first week I worked at a car dealership, the first phone call I got was Jay Leno, and I like pooped my pants. I was like, what the hell's going on? Like, holy crap, this is insane. And I was in an uncomfortable position, but then the next celebrity that came in, I could handle it better.
Right.
And the next one. So jumping into those situations that scare you, instead of worrying about it, I would act on it right away. Because then you get rid of the fear, and you know how to do it better next time. Like I did my first public speaking, my big one with like 100 people like 2 weeks ago, and it scared me. So this is pretty comfortable for me. So you have to just kind of jump into it.
Is it weird sometimes like explaining to your mom? Because I feel like my mom doesn't get what I do now.
My mom is actually on Instagram and has a couple thousand followers.
Oh my God.
Yeah, she does. So she's active with social media. She taught at U of M for 30 years as an English professor, and she understood that, you know, I had a passion. And when my dad passed away, my mom got me a camera, and I started taking photos and sharing them on MySpace. And my mom didn't understand it at first, but then when she started seeing like the engagement and people saying like, I love your pictures, I love what you do, she was like, if this makes you happy, then do it. So I jumped in full time. Yeah.
Do you not advocate like having a plan B or like a backup plan? Because like, I don't know, I guess I hear like sometimes some people say like, oh, well, if this doesn't work out, then like I can go do this. But then I also like hear otherwise that like, well, if you like give all your time and attention focused to like plan A, then like you can like make that one work.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to have a plan B. I love what I do. I'm going to make it work no matter what. So I know there's different ways that I can do it. Like with social media, I can manage a company. I can do consulting. You know, I can do public speaking. Like I can make a career out of this in like 20 different ways. So if one way doesn't work out, you could call it a plan B, but there's a different direction I could go with my social media foundation. But I think having a plan B just sets you up for like, oh, well, I can just be lazy because I can fall back on plan B. If you have plan A, then you have the fire under your feet consistently.
How do you utilize Instagram story for our businesses? Or do you not at all?
I do. So every story that we post always has to have a hashtag because it's going to make your story discoverable. So when you look at like hashtag Los Angeles, and if you post something that Instagram will approve, then you'll be in the top hashtags for that day. And if you click on Los Angeles hashtag, go to the top left corner, there'll be the top hashtag post of the day, and you could be in there. So you can make yourself way more discoverable.
So you can hashtag post.
Yeah.
That's sick.
So we do a lot of that, and then we focus on the swipe up feature. So if we can get a product or a service to go on a story, we'll do swipe up. Other than that, we just post content on stories every day.
Is the swipe up like for certified brands only or anyone?
No, so it's anyone over 10,000 followers.
Okay.
I think they're changing it though. I think they're making it public now.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
What's your opinion on this whole like Instagram television thing? I'm still kind of confused on that.
They're just trying to jump into TV because cable's terrible right now, and they're trying to find a new way to push mainstream media. I don't follow it. I don't use it that often because I think it's going to flop, but it's just another feature that they're trying to push. Yeah.
How do you decide which type of content you put on the story versus you put on your feed? Because like I see that my stories get way more engagement
Yeah.
than my actual posts.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I look at it, if you made a piece of content for that day, do both. You don't have to make separate content. Like, for instance, like this picture of my car will get like 4,000 likes on this post, and then on my story I'll get like 8,000 or 9,000 views. So it shows that, you know, the attention span is very quick right now. It's like, I'll go through my stories and go through 50 people, and on Instagram I'll swipe like 20 times and get over it. So if you put yourself on the story, the same content you post on the Instagram, your main Instagram page, it's just going to give you more engagement all around.
All of these tactics are for like people who have public profiles, right?
Yeah.
Like when you have a private profile, it doesn't work.
Hashtags won't work,
Well,
can't be discoverable.
I was just confused because I was like, okay, like I've had like both. Like I've made mine public and I've made mine private, but it's like I don't know because I've used like different strategies when my profile was public, and it did get a little bit more. But I guess like the consistency is like.
Well, it depends on what you want to do. You know, if you have a business, you want to be public. If you have a personal account, you can be private. Just depends. Like if you want your family to follow you on your private and that's it, keep it that way. But if you want to grow and be public, then you have to have a public profile.
Okay.
You talk about not having a plan B or anything else. In that case, how do you stay relevant? Because like honestly, in this day and age, like you keep moving fast.
Yeah,
It's new. How do you plan to stay relevant? How are you staying relevant? How do you
Adapting. There's so many changes that happen with social media that people complain about when you can just adapt to what's changing. Like when I quit my job, I was relying on YouTube to pay my bills because I was making ad revenue. And as soon as I quit, YouTube pulled $200 billion from advertising and my revenue went down 75%. And I lost all that money and I had to find a way to pay rent and pay my mom's bills. So instead of crying and being pissed off, I learned how to adapt to it. Okay, maybe make twice as many videos, maybe push more of my videos on Facebook and Instagram. So I learned how to adapt to it. So that's how I stayed relevant.
So in your business plans, adaptability is in.
Yeah, huge key point.
You have to be, you know, you have to change, you know. If you don't have to, but if you do, that's what you gotta make change.
Well, I think that's why a lot of the car dealerships are falling behind because they're so focused on newspapers and radio. And when I'm like, hey, you can spend the same amount of money and sell 30 more cars on Instagram, like my head boils when I talk to those people because they just don't get it. But they're not adapting. So give it another decade and I'll be there to help them with social media.
And here's another stat for you guys. Some of you guys will, like when you post what's more relevant. Here's the real scary, but it's the truth. Is cyber psychologists are classifying social media as an addictive condition. So the amount of times that people go on it, my wife goes on it way more than I do. It's not, we're in a different ballpark, different universe, because you know she's on it for her work and for her things, but she knows she's addicted to it. And I joke around it all the time. You know, she looks at mine, it's like 5 times. You know, I just for the week. Like, I don't do it very much. She's on it like hundreds of times in a day, and how many hours she spends over time. So it's definitely relevant to a condition, and it's even worse outside the United States. So if you're looking to like brand yourself further and further, you don't have to worry. They're on it almost 24/7 all the time, especially when you start talking about time zones, you're talking about everything else. It's a worldwide event, okay? So I don't think you have to worry about that. It's just taking the key points of being relevant and posting consistently and not giving up and having that plan A and being motivated. The moment that you become disengaged or you don't feel it anymore, well, it's because of your own doing. You know, it's not because it's the social media's fault, or if you can't put something that people want in business, it won't go too far either. So it has to be somewhat a product that people want. And we were talking about prior him coming in here with, you know, it's really the new way of people seeing like reality TV. They're so interested in everything people do. Really, and it's just now part of the platform that is free. You don't have to do it, and a lot of companies are starting to brand into the media. Like YouTube was all over the Major League Baseball. There's branded everything. YouTube TV, it's a subscription, so it doesn't surprise me that other companies are going to jump on that as well.
Yeah, I think for me, the key word is longevity and patience, because I apply patience to everything that I do. I spent 7 years doing car dealership photography. I went from 8,000 subscribers to 100,000 subscribers on YouTube in like 2 years. And I had all these people following me, and I stopped posting videos, and I said I quit my job. So everyone started to say, you're stupid, you suck, why'd you quit your job? It's a dream job, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, just give me a couple of years. And I post 1 video a week of me building the company, how I started an LLC, going to the bank to start a credit card for the company, making the website, doing the photo shoot, sharing everything. And just 3 weeks ago, I had 3 of my biggest haters apologize to me. And they were like, hey, you know what? I was making fun of you. I'm sorry. Now I understand why you did that. And it brought me like this crazy feeling of like really good revenge. I didn't say anything. I was like, all right, whatever, dude, that's cool. And realizing applying patience is something that can take you really far. It's longevity.
Any specific questions on maybe some strategies you may know, that hasn't been shared yet, of how to promote yourselves in your different type of industry? It's a good opportunity to ask this. It's more specific.
I got one. Because like I'm very much interested in like YouTube and even like live streaming, like Twitch and stuff like that. How do you, like from the very beginning, like let's say day one you just posted your first video, like how do you go about starting that? Like do you just go post everywhere and everywhere, like on Reddit or whatever? Like
So obviously, for me, Facebook and Instagram are promotional tools to have people watch my videos. So if you make a video on Twitch and you have no audience yet, share it on your Facebook, share it on your Twitter. You know, and even if no one is following you anywhere, just continue to make videos and you'll get discovered. One thing I look at is so many people are afraid to spend time commenting on pictures. I go back to all my pictures and I reply to everybody, every single person. If I get 500 comments, at the end of it I have 1,000 comments because 500 are me responding to everybody. So if you can make a YouTube video, you could go out and comment on other Twitch streamers' videos and say, hey, if anyone wants to watch my videos, come check it out. And do that 50, 20 times a week, whatever, and it'll add up really quickly. So there's different ways to engage from the very beginning that can work. Like if you go on Ninja's channel on his recent videos, and for the next 6 months you comment every day, come check out my videos, you'll get 10,000 people to follow you. Because you're putting yourself out there. It's just a matter of being consistent with it. Yeah.
So I have a question, like, well, this is for fashion, I mean, like, you know, there's like the designer and then like their brand.
Yeah.
I've seen some people kind of like merge the two.
Sure.
Which one would you recommend? Like let's say one person starts out and they have like 10,000 followers as a designer. Should they go and start from zero for their brand, or should they just do?
She has 1 million followers on her personal account, and she has like 3 million on her bikini line. And the thing that she had done is she made an Instagram called Bikini a Day. And she would post all of her content there, but then on her personal one, she would share behind the scenes. Like, this is the fabric that we use, this is what we do, this is a factory we're working with, here's an agency we're doing marketing with. So she would share the personal side of it, but then attach it to her business line. Because I have, like, I'll show you right now, I have an Instagram for my agency. So this is personal for me, this is where I share my life.
So life is BTS, business is business.
Yeah, you can share as much as you want to. So here's my agency page. One thing that I share a lot of is reviews. So I posted this, I don't know if you're going to read that, but it was just a review that someone had left me that I helped them with their social media. Showed like a couple of facts, a couple of Instagram things. This was the first day I moved into my new office. And this was just me sharing kind of the process. And people like that because I could post like fancy quotes all day and, you know, cool, awesome pictures, and people are like, okay, whatever, it's a nice page, but there's no depth. There's just surface to it. With what I do, there's a lot more depth. You know, I share the process, I share what I'm doing, and, you know, I put here, these were the countdown to get my new office, and people are like, what's going on, what are you doing? And I finally launched the picture, and that picture went pretty viral for me. So definitely a huge success with sharing like behind the scenes stuff that I do. Because you're letting people in on your life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, I think I saw Gary Vee. Was that Gary Vee?
Yeah.
Do you know him? Did you meet him?
He's my biggest idol,
Oh,
hands down. Yeah, he has an agency, he does the same thing that I do, but 10 locations, 1,000 employees. So my goal is to beat him by the time that I'm 35.
I like just started watching him, and like now I like watch him before I go to bed. Like,
Yeah, I can't watch him before I go to bed because I want to start 10 companies after I watch him. But yeah, he's an idol to me. So I use YouTube personally for motivation. I follow a couple guys who started companies from nothing and now they're worth a couple $1 million, if not more. And they're all my age too. So for me, it's like, what excuse do I have? Why am I not doing what I want to do? So that's what inspired me too. Anything else? I'm here to answer anything.
What do you think about things like Patreon?
I think it's good. It depends on what you do. Like, I follow a guy that doesn't do any AdSense on his videos, so there's no ads, but he has a Patreon. He says, if you appreciate me not doing ads, you can donate to my account. I think it's good when you give value to people. So as long as your content is making people entertained or educated, I think you have the right to have a Patreon. Because then people can donate and they feel good about it.
You think like starting off, like, I don't think it'd be like start fresh out of the gate to have a Patreon, because I think that just looks like a money grab.
Yeah. I don't think money should be what you focus. I don't focus on money at all. I mean, I make plenty of money, but I'm not like focusing on that. My main goal was to go Monday 9 a.m. to go visit my mom and have no boss saying you have to be somewhere. That was like my motivation. So the money came with that, but my main goal was the freedom. That on a Tuesday morning I could go to Huntington Beach and hang out, ride my bike, then go to work. On Wednesday I could go to San Diego, visit a friend, and not have to worry about anything. And I could work from anywhere. So that was the main thing, and then money came along with that.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Wait, come back to you.
Big car YouTuber. He has made a video every day for 400 days straight so far. Every day. And he's making close to probably $600,000 a month just off YouTube. He's the master of consistency. Every day you're filming a video, and you know he's done deals with Michelin, Ferrari, big companies, and he's consistent.
What does he do in the video?
He just reviews cars, talks about them, drives them.
Or does he edit them too himself?
He has an editor.
Okay, because
Yeah.
I was like, I
Yeah.
know
Well,
you
he
have
probably-
some in
That's the hard
At that point, you need an editor.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple other ones. I follow mostly car stuff. I follow a fitness guy, Christian Guzman. He's a big inspiration to me. I sold him a Lambo like 4 years ago, and I had a really good connection with him. But he built a clothing line called Alpha Lead. So he started a company in the middle of everyone saying the market's saturated for the t-shirt market, and he's worth, because he didn't listen to anybody else. He said, even in a saturated market, he can stand out from everybody else. So he used YouTube and Instagram as his leverage for people to see what he does, inspire people, and they would buy clothes from him.
It's so cool.
You ready for your question?
Okay, hopefully it'll make sense.
Sure.
Like, so you said like you should focus on doing what you love and not like for the money. But if you're like in a position where like you're only like 21 and like you only have this amount of money,
Yeah.
and you would like to just like jump ship, but you don't know if you would like sink or swim. Like, how do you? And then that's the confusion of the question.
I get it, I get it.
Where's
So-
the, like,
Make that jump.
What
yeah, you know what I'm
I get it,
saying?
I get it. So what you want to do is you want to learn. When I was 21, I started a clothing line, and I was like, I'm going to quit my job and do this. And I was making like 50 bucks a month. Like, that's not going to work for my bills. So what I had done is I surrounded myself with people that were already in the industry, like Christian Guzman with his clothing line and other people, and I just retained information. So when I did that with, I mean, going back to my photography, that was a huge creative side of me. I took that same creative mindset and applied it to a company. So I was still doing what I love, I just shifted in a different direction. But I think that you have to be able to retain information before you jump ship. So I spent from 18 to 25 years old just listening. I didn't have my ego, I didn't say I knew what I was talking about, I just listened to what people were doing. And at 25, I had so much information that I was like, I can jump now, I can do it. But at 23, I couldn't, or 24, I couldn't. But at 25, I was like, all right, I can probably do it now. Because I just listened to everyone around me, including Gary Vee. Yeah.
So it kind of goes back to a thing that I mentioned earlier on. When you guys are even interviewing for a job, and you can be, if you can't be a good student to go in there and then learn, you're a know-it-all, you're not marketable. It's the same thing. You have to go very humble. You're a good example of what that looks like in some of your examples that people went into. You have to have some foundation and motivation what you want to do. Everyone has one. You just have to kind of learn what that is about yourselves. It's not for anyone to tell you what it is. His is personal, and his mother. I have one. You know, I'm sure you guys all have one. You got to have something that makes you get up during the early mornings or stay up all night and do what you really want to do. So you took a leap of faith and you went for it.
Yeah.
You know, because if money wasn't the principle, money can come and go, right?
Yeah, always.
But your foundation of why you do something, the thing you actually care about the most, is really always going to be with you. That lives within your heart. It doesn't live within, you know, what everyone thinks you're supposed to have. Some people think you're very successful just because of your bank account. That's very untrue. It's more about like why you do what you do, and it can you show it and you share it with anybody, whether music, photography, video, you know, graphic arts, whatever it is that you do. You have to kind of let that out and show people that, and you guys can all tell who's fake. I mean,
Yeah.
I do, and that's why I probably don't. I'm not on there as much because I just see too much of that stuff. But that's what it is. You have to we go back over again, making that connection, that relationship. It's not going to go away. It really is what sells. It captures me when I see a documentary. I see that it's very real in the settings. I get into it. I start watching it because I see that connection and what they're really trying to do, their struggles or whatever it may be. I appreciate it because everyone's great in their own way. You just, you know, don't need to badmouth everybody, especially if you're not even going to do what the other person's doing. You know, give them some credit.
There's much more depth to it, I think, too.
It is. It's
Yeah.
huge, you know, and you got to dig deeper. If you guys haven't dug deep enough yet, you guys don't know what that is, you got to do a little more soul searching, you know, and find out what it is, because that's going to be 100% you and no one else. And it's true. That's pretty amazing stats for some 20-year-olds making some money like that, you know?
Yeah. And the scary thing is I have like 50 to 100 friends that make that. Like, he's very in touch with adapting and really in touch with consistency, and knows how to push his market to make money. And you know, he has his hardships and hard times, and people judge him for being an idiot. There's so many things that those guys deal with because they put themselves out there. So I think, going back to what we were talking about, like, there's so much more depth to life when you have a purpose of fighting for what you want, because money's always going to be there. My mom's not always going to be here. So I know if I fight to make more money and more of myself and go after my passion, that's going to equal more time for me to spend with my mom, get her a house, get her a car, take care of her, compared to just being like, oh, I want $1 million in a bank account. What's that going to do? I don't care. I'd rather spend time with my mom and be broke than have a ton of money and not have my mom. So that's the fire under my feet that pushes me every day. Yeah.
So you're only like a few years older than us, so like I don't know if you know the answers, but I guess like what would be like your advice to someone who like watch, like use me for example, if like you like have your goals and aspirations and you like want to accomplish them and you're like only in your 20s, but you've also like had like a lot of recent like years with like a bunch of people that you're really close with are just like dying left and right, and
Sure.
they're like younger than you or just in their 20s too.
Yeah.
And so like it kind of scares you that like maybe you don't have enough time. 'Cause,
Yeah.
like, we all never know like what the time is. Like what do you? I don't know. It's just anxiety, but like. What
No, I get it. So when I was 20, my best friend bought a laptop off of Craigslist, and when he went to go buy it, they robbed him, and he chased him, and when he drove around this cul-de-sac, they shot him in the heart, and they killed him. So my best friend, we shared the same last name too. We were best friends for like 6 years, and that was like, that hit me harder than my dad. Because when my dad died, I was younger, but I had a connection with my friend, and that made me realize like life is way too short. Like I could have been driving here and got hit by a truck or something like that. You just never know. So I think that's also fire under my feet too, is you realize how precious life is. 'Cause you never know. That's the scary part. And the cool thing is too, is you don't need permission. Like, if you want to start a company, you don't need to go ask somebody. If you want to start a YouTube channel, you don't have to ask anybody. Just go on YouTube and sign up, start making videos. You know, so that it's so much easier than people think when you just execute.
Any other questions for people that specific to your own self?
Yeah.
You said it's like important to stay consistent with posting, but with just like my experience for how long I've been on Instagram, when like someone posts like a shit ton, I always get like annoyed. Especially, not necessarily if it's like my product, but if it's just like a post every day of you at the beach. And I guess, like you said, I need to drop insecurity, but I make a lot of music, like I produce a lot of stuff like that, and what I'm going for is just to get people to care as much as I do at this point. So, I'm just like trying to figure out how would I be consistent without annoying people. Which I guess
There's insecurity that falls into that,
Yeah.
where you're worried about people like judging you or saying anything. I look at it like, put out as much content as you can. Post 20 times a day. If the audience is annoyed by you, who cares? You're going to build something for yourself, and you never know who's going to see it.
Yeah.
So for me, like, I'll show you right now. I posted about 15 photos a day for 5 years straight. So on this account, I posted 20,000 photos, just on that account alone. And you know, that equals out to 5 to 20 a day. I'll just share my life. And people seeing that consistency, they were cool with it because it was cool cars in my life. But if it's like, you know, picture your baby, I'm gonna unfollow you most likely. So you gotta find the right audience. But if it's a picture of your baby and you're working with Pampers as a promotional deal, it makes sense then. So it depends on how engaged you are with your audience and what they want to see.
So I'm like familiar with Instagram and like the hashtags and all that, but what about YouTube? Is it the same thing, like hashtags, or like how do you get people?
No, so it's just making content that's relevant. I think that if you push YouTube videos and you make the right titles, that you'll pop up in suggested feed.
Okay.
So I think that's the main thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think that like collab videos are like good too, or like it doesn't really?
They're beneficial, huge. I've done videos with some of my friends, and I'll get 10,000 subscribers that night if we collab together, and I put their name in my title or something like that. I think that's great, but you have to look at it like Are you desperate for subscribers, or do you really want to do a video with that person? So as I grew older and started realizing more of like what I wanted, I didn't care so much about who the person was, but what their intentions were and why they were going to be in my video. So like I said, depth, you got to figure out, you know, what's the reason behind it. Hopefully that brings you guys some value.
Oh, it does.
It got me going a little bit. Feeling good about that one.
I feel like,
For this, like, thanks.
I feel like a lot of us are really taken back by like the superficial aspects of like social media. You know, like Kim Kardashian's super huge. You know, like there's a lot of the whole Kardashian Jenner clan. You know,
Sure.
that's really big, and there's like this whole like idea of what a woman should look like, and there's like a lot of beauty standards that are set for women, and for people in general, you know. But I think, you know, it's important, like you said, to find what you believe in, like morality and like your boundaries and the people you want to associate with, because not a lot of people tell us that. It's like, it's all the image, and instead of just focusing on the image, like you want to also practice like what you believe in as a person and how you treat other people.
Sure.
So, you know, for someone who's as successful as you to say that, I think that's like, we weren't expecting that.
Yeah, I mean, I can give you an example right now. Like when I first started the company, I worked from my bed for a year. I gained like 60 pounds, and this is the heaviest I've ever been. But the one thing I looked at is, how do I feel? I feel awesome. I'm happy every day. I'm like beyond happy with what I do. So when I look at it from that aspect, whatever's coming in from outside, it's all about how you react to it.
Right.
Whether you want to retain that information and apply it, or you want to ignore it. I always ignore everything because it's my way or the highway, to be honest. And that's how it's gotten to me where I am today. So never focus on how you look or how other people look. Focus on how you feel.
Right. And this was some truth then.
Well, I think a lot of people that, I don't like to say it, but at my level, they want to have the surface tension where, look at my plane, my boat, my cars, my success.
Right.
I don't look at that. I look at how I feel and the impact I have on other people.
Exactly.
That's my main thing. So one thing I get complimented on is how genuine I am, and I'll always be that way. Because I feel like I bring more value than, look how cool I am, compared to, hey, my life sucked at one point, now look what I did with it.
Yeah, I feel like it gives people a real connection.
Yeah.
Because everyone's struggling with something. And, you know, like this whole like glamorous, like sparkly life that it's like, oh, my life's perfect. Like,
Yeah.
You know, and when you give them, you know, all sides of it, you could go from being super successful and then quitting your job and then having to start from scratch like you did. And then, you know, there are a lot of people in this room who are probably dealing with something.
Sure, I mean, everyone has their own hardship, you know,
Right.
and I think that's why I could go buy a Lambo, I could go buy a big house, I could do all these things, but I choose to reinvest in my company to grow it, and I dress casually. I don't have to wear a suit. Like I spoke at San Diego State, and I thought I may have to dress up, and I'm like, I'm not going to dress up. That's not who I am. This is who I am every day. So I always focus on never leaving who I am to show other people that I'm a different person. I don't have to flex on Instagram. I don't care about that.
Right.
I'm happy with my car and myself and my family and my life. Why do I have to promote that? So that's kind of how I look at it. Like, I just need to make sure I remain genuine. And my ego gets ahead of me sometimes, but I punch myself and, you know, come back down to earth. But it takes time to learn that, you know, because I had to go through it.
So you probably like had some, I guess, like not so always like great and like bright shiny moments, like when you like first like decided to like leave and do your own thing. But like, I don't know, maybe you shouldn't answer this. But like, what were like examples of like stuff that you had to face when you had dark times? Like, well, maybe I can't do this, or like I missed a bill or something.
I was homeless at one point, so I slept on a tile floor with my mom when my dad just passed away, and I wanted to give up on life. I was like, I don't care, I'm done. And I realized that through my camera and MySpace, I had a connection with all my friends back home in Michigan, where I'm from. And when I moved to San Diego, I had no friends. My dad just died, I was homeless. I was like, I don't want to do this, I don't want to live anymore. But I realized that there was an exit strategy.
It became a surprising inspiration to you to even grow even more.
Yeah, so
companies you could share, like even why.
Yeah, so when I started the company, I had a lot of people reaching out to me all over the world. One guy reached out to me, and he has a window tint shop, so he tints windows on cars. He needed help with social media. and he sent me his address, center of Compton and Inglewood. And I'm like, I'm the whitest dude in California. I'm scared as shit to go here. So I went there, shook his hand, and I ended up signing 6 of his companies. He had 6 different companies that social media for. To make an extra guy. And that was when I had the hardest time of my life. And I said, you know what? Yes, I'm gonna come see you. Yes, I'll be there. And he's still my biggest clientele today. So learning to say yes to everything, I think, thank you, I appreciate that. I think learning to say yes to everything is gonna take you much further than you think. Even if it's not money, even if it's a lesson, you're gonna learn and apply that. But yeah, that was definitely one of my horror stories. A little bit scared. I had to have my windows up and trying to creep into Inglewood. I'm like, okay, it's all right though, it's worth it.
Any other questions you guys want to ask? It's really good. I like your questions so far.
Yeah, like kind of goes back to taking the plunge. Like, I've noticed, like, in order at the beginning, from the very beginning, I've had to like work like, you know, different side jobs and stuff just to fund like the main vision.
Yeah.
At what, like, do you save enough money for like 3 months or something to be like, okay, I'm gonna just take the plunge and then just go hard these things?
Do you have whiteboards at your house?
No.
Buy whiteboards. I have 16 in my office. My whole walls are covered in whiteboards. So I write down everything from finances to clients to goals, and I look at them every day. So if you're trying to save for something, put it on a whiteboard and vision it. Because even a piece of paper, because when you break it down on paper, to me it's almost less intimidating. Because like I have a goal right now, I want to make $2 million a month in the next 2 years. That's my goal. And I put it out there on Instagram. And so many people were like, you can't do it, and then 90% were like, no problem for you, you do $4 million a month. So I think when you visualize it, it makes it less intimidating. So I think definitely writing down your goals. And so what you're saying, you want to save money?
Right, like what are the steps to take the plunge and go there? Like obviously financial is like the biggest thing to take the plunge. Do you save money to like be okay with like transitioning?
Yeah. I mean, I had a credit card and I had a couple $1,000 saved up, and I had at least $5 grand in assets I could sell, like my camera, my couch, and car parts.
Yeah.
So I knew that if it went south, I could sell that stuff and have enough money. So I just kind of knew in my mind where I was at. So I knew I had 90 to 120 days to be okay. But after that, it was like, you gotta get it together.
What about like investors? At any point, do you consider reaching out, or are you
Yeah, I had investors reach out to me. So I had a lot of companies that they ran hedge funds. They followed me for years. I sold them Bugatti or Lambos. Like, hey, I see how genuine you are. I want to invest in you. Give me $1 million. And they would write what they want in return. I'd look at it. I'm like, I don't want it. I don't want that pressure. Because for me, the main reason why I quit was freedom. That's just attaching me more to something else I don't want. So when it came to investors, unless you have a really, really intense idea, which most people do, and they believe in it, maybe. But with what I was doing, it didn't make sense. Because I knew if I could sign 10 more clients, I could pay more bills. If I signed 20 clients, I could hire someone else.
Yeah.
If I signed 30 clients, I make profit. So I already had the goals ready to go. I just had to execute on it.
Does writing it down hold you more accountable, so to say, or is it just like?
Yeah, I mean, wherever you write it down, set it as your wallpaper on your phone, put it in your bedroom, whatever. Like, if you see it every day, it's going to be implanted in your head over and over again. And eventually, like, I'm a firm believer in law of attraction. Like, I said, oh, big time, yeah. So I wrote down when I was 20, I'm like, I'm going to buy a Subaru STI, brand new one. When I was 21, I bought it. When I was 23, I was like, I'm going to buy a new M3. I just bought my M3 2 years ago. So I always put these things in line of saying, I'm going to do this. And it always came to life. And it was never like, oh, I'm going to win the lottery. It was like, I know I have to work.
Yeah.
But it was always there, you know?
Manifestation.
A firm believer. Yeah.
See, I feel like that's what people get confused, and that's where like I'm kind of like debatable about with like the law of attraction manifestation, because I feel like you can't just like say like, well, I want to get this or whatever like next year, because like then if you just sit on your ass, it's not coming.
Well, nothing's gonna happen.
No.
You have to work.
But like, I don't know, some people say like, well no, you just gotta really think about it, like just I'm like, I don't get it. So you do feel like, yes, you need to be applying some action.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I mean, if you can have all these goals and ideas, but if you're not putting in the effort behind it, then you're not going to get that. Those are just things that, like, for me, are work achievements. And the funny thing is, like, when I look at those things and I get them, as soon as I get them, I'm like, all right, what's next? What do I do? I'm satisfied because I did that. So having that, you can't pay for that mental feeling of getting your dream car or getting your dream goals done, but you have to apply action behind all of it. Because it won't work for itself.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. I mean, I'd love to wish for a huge house and Lambos and stuff, but if I work towards it, I know I'll get there.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
So like some of the stuff that you mentioned, I like have like read in books that like would be helpful for like your success, you know, like whatever your goal is, like reading your like manifestation and like surrounding yourself with like the people who do like the things that you want to do.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that like you do or like have a habit of doing that you feel like contributes to your success?
I'm learning now that the more you surround yourself with other people, the more you're going to become like them. So I'd rather just be alone and focus on YouTube videos and go to car shows and meet people that are like me. Like I had a grand opening at my office and everybody there was an entrepreneur. Everybody had a business. Everyone had something they were making money from, and I was in my like peak of happiness. I was like, this is who I want to be around. So definitely lifestyle changes, like stopped smoking weed a long time ago. I haven't drank in like 2 years since I started the company. And I don't do what I used to. I used to party and eat food and do all this crap that didn't add value to my life. And it sounds cold turkey, but that's how I quadrupled my income in 2 years. Because I focused on sacrificing all that stuff that had no value and only focusing on people and things that brought me value.
How do you like get around those people that have what you want or do what you want to do without like coming across as like, oh, you only like want something for them, or you know you need to be around them to like get yours?
I mean, I've had long-term friends that I've known that have become successful, and those are the ones that I go around. I don't just find random people and say, hey, be my friend.
No.
You know, it's just people that I've known that have had, you know, success in their life. And a lot of people that are at where I'm at for my level, they're 30 to 40. So I connect better with those people because my mindset is in the same place they are. So I just find those people that, you know, at networking events, at, you know, get-togethers, car shows, I just find the right people, hand out business cards, and make friends.
That's something I also like just thought about. I know like for me when I hear business cards, I'm like, oh, that's so old. Everyone just asks for your Instagram. But you're saying like even as someone who's always on Instagram and makes a living off of it, business cards are still something to be like, here's my card.
Think about it this way. Everyone who needs help with social media that runs a business is probably 40 to 70 because they don't know what social media is. So they need a company like me to come in and take over. So their ways are radio, TV, and business cards. So going back to adapting, I'm adapting to their ways and learning how to educate them on what's happening now. So I'm not going to eliminate something that's valuable, like business cards, because of new technology. I'm going to utilize it to my advantage.
Anything else? Good to you.
I think that's it, yeah.
Hey, I thank you guys for giving him a round of applause.
Did you go to college or did you?
No, so I got a job as a receptionist when I was 17 at a car dealership, and I dropped out of high school. So I just went straight into the dealership game because I knew I could use my photography to make more money, and then it just kind of grew from that. Yeah. Which I don't recommend to a lot of people because, like, my mom's a professor and she was really confused why I dropped out. But you know, when she started seeing my photos on covers of magazines, she's like, okay, maybe this can work for you.
Right.
Yeah. So it had to make sense.
Wanna say thank you?
Makes sense.
I took